Hey everybody, my name is Brittany. I started studying the Bible in April of 2017, and when I first started, I knew nothing about it. So it was a lot of information, it was overwhelming, sometimes even stressful. So I wanted to start a Bible for Beginners Bible study. It just gives you the basic overview of everything, no details, no going into a lot of explanation, just so you know what's in here and where to find it when you need it. So last week we ended with Joshua dying in the book of Joshua. So this week we're going to study Judges. There's a big cycle throughout this book. So the Israelites are in the promised land. Joshua dies, so they have no one really over them, so they start sinning. They're worshiping other gods and idols. They get defeated in battles. They get kind of exiled to new kings, and new kings are ruling over them. And then they pray, and then God sends them somebody to rescue them. That somebody he sends is called a judge. Now, and the judge brings them back to God. There were 12 judges, 6 minor, which were, and I'm going to mess these names up. Y'all know I can't pronounce names. Shamgar, Tola, Jahir, Ibzan, Elon, and Abdon. And then there were also 6 major judges. The first one was Othniel, who God used to defeat the king of Aram. The second was Ehud, who killed the king of Moab in a very disturbing way. This is quite a violent book. You can find that in chapter 3, verses 12 through 30. The third major judge we come to is Deborah. She was the only woman. She was a prophetess who helped people decide disputes under a palm tree. She was told by God to tell a man, Barak, that he was to go into battle against Jabin, the king of Canaan. Remember the Canaanites? They were super strong, super scary. So he was afraid, and so he asked Deborah to come with him, which she did. And God delivered Jabin into Barak's hands. The next major judge was Gideon. You probably heard that name. He was very confused as to why God had appointed him a judge. He was the weakest person of the weakest tribe at that point. And he kept asking God for signs that he was actually God talking to him, and that he was actually appointed as a judge. Like, he was in such disbelief, he kept asking for these signs to make sure that he was on the right track. And then he did destroy the idols to Baal and all the Asherah poles, and built one for the Lord. And then he also defeated the Midianite army with only 300 people. Sorry, I've got a horrible cold. The next one mentioned is, I can say it right in my head, but I can't pronounce it, Jephthah. And he was a mighty warrior. He had no idea how to worship God correctly, though. He's in this land of sin and wickedness, and he just didn't know how to worship. And he would pray, saying that if God gave the Ammonites over to him, he would give God a burnt offering of whatever came out of his house first when he returned home. So he did defeat them, and he returned home, and the first thing that came out to meet him was his only very young daughter. But he kept his promise, and offered her as a burnt offering. And we all know that God doesn't want us burning our kids, right? There's a God out there that accepts that, but not ours, right? He's not crazy. Next week we'll look into the last major judge. His name is Samson. I am sure you've heard of the name Samson. He was the strongest person. So the book of Judges ends with more violence, wickedness. It's not a book for the faint of stomach or heart. This includes rapings, beatings, cutting up a concubine and sending a piece of her to each of the 12 tribes of Israel, and a civil war where the Benjamites separated from the tribes of Israel for a short time. Many of them were killed, but they came back after the Israelites literally stole women for them for a wife. So definitely not a book, probably not the best book suited for children all the way through. Might want to pull bits and pieces out of that. It's really gory, and it makes you realize how easily a group of people can turn back to sin. We'll see you next week with the book with teaching about Samson, and I hope you guys have a great week, and God bless.